Hey guys, how you all doing? Man, I just want to come on here and share something. It's a little bit about myself. Lately, quite a few of our members are sharing what Kayak Fishing with Christ means to them and has meant to them. And man, those are some moving short stories. I truly am humbled and blessed to be a part of Kayak Fishing with Christ. With that comes something that's been on my mind for a while, and I want you guys to hear it and to hear what I'm about to share. Kayak Fishing with Christ came about in 2013 or 2014. I hadn't gone back to look. I can't tell you I completely remember, but I know that we were incorporated in 2015, August of 2015. But anyway, I knew when God gave me this vision that it was going to be something different, but I did not realize how impactful on my life it would be. I have shared with many of you guys that I used to be a crack addict. This is way back when the epidemic first hit mainstream media, which when it hits mainstream media, it's like wildfire, spreads. Go figure. Media wants to tell a story, but all they do is advertise it. At least that's my personal opinion. But anyway, I became a crack addict. I had been selling drugs, selling cocaine, marijuana, and crack, and literally found myself one day doing my own junk. But in that time, I went from being comfortable and having some things to losing a lot of things, including a lot of friends, a lot of material value that the world places, that we should have. And I hurt some people. And this is what this story is about. I'm not going to get deeply into my life with the addiction, just that I can share with you that I went from 175 pounds to about 125 pounds in a matter of 15, 18 months, besides being homeless. But this is my story of a time that I hurt someone deeply who was my family. And the only father that I truly ever knew besides our Heavenly Father, only true earthly father. My dad left our family when I was 11 or 12 years old. But anyway, it's a story about Hubert Waters, my stepdad. My mom ended up marrying him, and years later, they got divorced. But Hubert was a man that showed us a lot of things. Me and my brother and my sister. He took us fishing, took us camping, took us to Tennessee to be with his family. I mean, it was just an adventure with Hubert. I mean, we were always doing something as kids, and he also brought discipline into our home, with something that we didn't have and weren't used to, and it was cool. But to come back to my crack addiction, when I got hooked on crack, I was what I would call a functional crack addict because I still worked and I still held a job. I was not normal when it comes to being a crack addict. I was dabbed the vampire crack addict because the only time I would do crack was after the sun went down, literally. I wasn't one of the crack addicts that needed to do it 24/7. Even though I was hooked, God is still giving me, and I say God, has still instilled in me a responsibility to work, even though my money was all going to crack. But anyway, I became homeless. I jumped from efficiency to efficiency, and literally, a month here, 3 months there, 4 months here, and literally I was to a point that I was homeless. My mom and Hubert, my stepdad, had already been divorced a couple years. So Hubert was one that he was always there to help us. He was always there for myself, my brother Carlos, and my sister Celia. Hubert was always there. He cared deeply for our family and impacted us deeply. But anyway, Hubert had rented a house from my mom, was in the process of buying that house. It was a townhouse. Um, was in the process of buying that house because they got to the point that things were tough. And my mom and him had made an arrangement, and Hubert was making the payments to the banks. Hubert let me in to move with him. I was with him a couple of months and still cracking it up, you know, um, behind his back a lot of the times. Later on, he found out, but he wasn't going to kick me out. That's how much he loved and cared for us, that he was willing to give me a place no matter what. He knew I worked during the day. So one of the things you don't do with a crack addict is hand a crack addict money, okay, for any reason, because a crack addict will be a crack addict, period. Hubert had an agreement with the bank to send over a certain amount of money. He gave it to me to deliver it to the bank. That was a big mistake. You know what I did? No need to get into it. I cracked it up, period. Hubert ended up losing the house. That was the last time I actually saw my stepdad, Hubert, live. It was about 7, 8 months later that my stepdad was found dead in efficiency. And you got to understand this, that when Hubert would take us to Tennessee, his family treated us. Hubert was a good old boy from Tennessee. I'm going to share this because to me it's important. Hubert was a white man. Like I said, good old boy from Tennessee. When we first went to Tennessee, my biggest worry was, okay, great, we're going to meet this redneck family, and they're not going to accept me, because I'm darker. And I mean, those were thoughts that went through my head. It wasn't like that at all. They took us in like we were their own kids. His mother and father treated us, and his brothers, sisters treated us like we were always there. But anyway, I took this money. Hubert lost the house, ended up having to move into efficiency. That haunted me for years. Haunted me. 6 months after I found out Hubert passed away, God delivered me from my crack addiction. Literally delivered me overnight in that same house. I had gone into that house, and in that house, after I broke in, literally God delivered me that night from a crack addiction in that house. But the thing is, to get back to Hubert's death, I never went to the funeral. His family wanted me to go. My mother wanted me to go. But my shame kept me away from that funeral. And this is where it brings us to Kayak Fishing with Christ. For years, I would tell my mother that I needed to go visit Hubert's grave, tell friends of mine that I needed to go visit my stepdad's grave, those that heard the story. But I never did. And then 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. Well, in 2017, I met a man named Kent Benover, who is one of our members and the Tennessee ambassador and one of our board members. Met this man, Kent Benover. I did not know that meeting that man would change my life. Literally change my life. Met Kent Benover at our first national meetup for Kayak Fishing with Christ at High Falls State Park in Georgia, where we will be going in 2020. Kent won't be there because his daughter is getting married that week. But Kent know that we're brothers, man. But anyway, I met this man, Kent, a humbled man, drove all the way from Tennessee to meet a bunch of strangers. As everybody that came to that national day, we were all strangers. No one had met each other, okay? We're talking about strangers. He drove. I met this brother. And as we got to know each other at the event, and then at the Texas event at Possum Kingdom Park in 2018, I mean, we just got closer and closer. And asked him to become an ambassador, asked him to join the board. And that's when truly life changed, because Ken was part of Tin Cat, an organization, a fishing trail in Tennessee, invited me over, and what we actually did, we sponsored a, an event in April. I think it was 2 years ago. In April, we sponsored an event. It was KFWC on the Chick with Tin Cat, and at that event, which was a blessed weekend, I spent the weekend. It was me, Kent, and Tim Burgess spent the weekend together at Kent's house, which was amazing that time. I don't want to make this too long, but it might just be. We spent the weekend together. We fished Friday, and then Saturday we pre-fished Friday. Had an awesome day. I had one of the best days on the water pre-fishing. Saturday we went to the tournament, to the same location. That's a totally different story there. I love you guys, Tim and Ken. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a completely different story. But after that tournament, we went over to the Tin Cat, to the location, and we did what we did there with the guys. But on the way back home, this is when everything gets freaky. On the way back home, Tim Burgess was driving, and Tim missed the turn because we were talking, and a motorcycle happened to come by, and we're talking about motorcycles, and we literally missed the turn. But we ended up making a left. We were heading back to Kent's house. Ended up making a left. And as we made that left, we're talking. I'm in the front seat. Or I think I was in the front. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But anyway, we made a left turn. And man, as we're talking, I'm looking at the window. And maybe Kent was driving that day. Looking at the window, and things just started looking familiar. Literally familiar. And we got to a spot, going down this road, you could see the Smoky Mountains, and it just hit me. I knew that barn. I saw this red barn down the road. I knew that barn. That was a barn that I had been in as a kid many times. We were driving, and I just lost it, man. I started crying because that was a road that I had been on with my stepdad. So the first thing I did, I texted my mother, and I said, Mom, in my text, and I think I still have that text saved. I said, Mom, where did Huber's family live in Tennessee? You got to understand, Kent lives in Maryville, Tennessee, has lived there for 25 years. If I'm right, I think I'm right, Kent. My mother texted me back, Maryville, Tennessee. Guys, when my mom texted me back, Maryville, Tennessee, I lost it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. You know, me and Ken had told me about Maryville, but it never clicked. But anyway, I was bawling all the way to Kent's house. Got to Kent's house, and I told the guys I needed to be alone, because I showed Kent the thing, and Kent knew my story about my stepdad. But that day, I called my mom, and I told her, Mom, look, you know where I'm at? I'm in Maryville, Tennessee. And she thought that I was going there to find my stepdad's grave. And I told her no, that I was at a tournament. She asked me if I was going to go, and I said no. And I didn't go look for the grave that day. I went home. But the neat thing is, Kent, being a brother and a friend, took it upon himself to, because Maryville, it's not a huge place, but took it upon himself the next few days to search, because I had told him that Huber's family had been around there for 100 years or more, and they've got a big plot. You know, I've heard the stories about the church that they were a part of, and how strong they were in the community. Kent took it upon himself to go and find my stepdad's grave. I think it was 2 days later. Kent sends me pictures of my stepdad's headstone, Hubert Waters. And it just brought back how long and for how many years I wanted to go to that grave and ask for forgiveness to my stepdad that I had. I felt that I killed him because I took his money, and disappeared. And I think it was a few months later that I decided to go with my wife and visit Kent and his wife Carol. We decided, and that day I went. When we got there, I think it was the following day, we went to Hubert's grave, my stepdad's grave. And all the emotions I had built up inside, all the wants, all the visions I had of visiting his grave, just everything just came out. And the neat thing was that my stepdad had these flies. And I brought a couple flies with me for some reason. I don't know why. But that's one of the only things I've kept. And I wanted to make contact with his family to let them know that I finally came. And they have, I guess, a master headstone for the family. And I took that fly and put it in a note. Put a note in and I put it in a Ziploc bag and pasted it on the wall of that stone. And a few days later, Hubert's little brother contacted me. We ended up meeting the following year, or the following few months. We went back to, no, it was the following year that we went back. The following year we went back to the Tin Cat. Hubert's little brother came, we met, we talked, and I shared the story with him that I just shared with you guys. But guys, I shared this, that we talk about what Kayak Fishing with Christ has done. Guys, this is a story beyond stories. That God used KFWC, Kayak Fishing with Christ, and a man that I had never would have met if not for KFWC, to give me what I needed. Closure with my stepdad. Closure with that time of my past, so that I could move on and no longer be held in bondage by a spirit of weakness, which that was. And I tell you guys that this is only the beginning part of what Kayak Fishing with Christ and Kent Vanover has done, because there have been other closures in my life that had to deal with my brother being in the Air Force, Kent being in the Air Force. Guys, if you think for one moment that the people that run into your life, it's a coincidence, I can tell you you're wrong. I can tell you that if you think for one moment that you're being here at Kayak Fishing with Christ is just a coincidence, it's not. It's not at all. And I just needed to share this story with you guys. And that to know there's more to come and more that I need to share. And I will share it. But Kent Vanover, if it not for Kayak Fishing with Christ, I would have never met this brother who lived in the same town that my stepdad grew in, the same town that we used to visit as kids, the same town where my stepdad was buried, that I was too ashamed to go to the funeral. And for years, and I'm talking about, guys, I'm not talking about 5-10 years. This has been a struggle with me for about 30 years. Okay, my stepdad has been passed for a long, long time, and I've held on to this. So just know that. But to realize that God could orchestrate the movement and orchestrate the connection of two people so far apart, but yet tied together somehow, that, man, it's amazing. And here's the thing. The church where my stepdad was buried was probably a mile from Kent's house, a mile and a half from Kent's Vanover's house, where I had stayed previously. So just know, man, that this is what Kayak Fishing with Christ means to me. Lifelong connections and a restoration. That's what it means to me. That's why I'm so adamant. And that's why me and my wife do what we do for Kayak Fishing with Christ. And for God, this is a mission that we are on. And through this mission, God has healed a point in my life that I needed to be healed to be able to go on. I thank you guys for everything. I'm not closing in a prayer, then opening a prayer. These are all things that God already knew. And I just thank you. And I pray that each one of you will share your story of kayak fishing with Christ. How do they not know if they have not been told? Okay, we're supposed to share our stories. I wanted to share mine. Thank you for this 22 minutes of your time as I share my story. I love each and every one of you, and Kent, you know, brother, that you have a special spot in my heart and in my family's heart, because God used you to restore a lost soul, a piece of a lost soul, and to bring a family back. Huber's family has made contact with my mom, and I've been blessed through Kayak Fishing with Christ. Thank you.